You know what's interesting? The fact that we get to see a man rushing through Overhaul's entire building, basically holding up a piece of paper saying, "I got a warrant, let us in, we're under the impression that you guys have illegal activity going on here," and he's running into this place while you have one of the villains rush out and start tackling one of the heroes. You're just like, is there any point in holding up that warrant at this point in time? But at the same time, it does make sense why the cop is doing it when you think of forms of justice, which is kind of the segue I want to get into, basically the main point that I want to start off with, and that's the fact that if there's one thing I've been trying to talk about for these past couple of weeks when it comes to My Hero Academia's anime, is that they can't just charge in. The heroes cannot just charge in and save Eri. They can't just say, "Oh, you're a villain," and go in. You can't do that, because if you break the law, basically, if you start accusing people, even if you know they're a villain, and you start breaking the law, what makes you any different, basically? That's the big point here. And as I've already talked about, if they were to, let's say, charge inside of Overhaul's compound, you know, without a warrant, etc., they could potentially get liable for that, to where they could get sued and all of that. So when you see the police officer basically rushing in holding the warrant, it makes sense why he's doing it, but at the same time, it's just hilarious to me because it's just so realistic in a way, because they're basically saying, "Everybody stop moving, get down, we are arresting you, we are searching the premise, etc. You know, you need to chill out." And I just find it kind of cool, honestly. It's something very unique when it comes to My Hero Academia, because when you think about everything we've seen thus far from the story, it's a different representation of villain organizations, and that's kind of what I want to get into. So basically, if we go back to the League of Villains, okay, if we backtrack to the, beginning parts of the series when we were first introduced to the League of Villains and Shigaraki's entire operation with All for One, etc., when you think about how they've constantly moved throughout the entirety of this verse and how they've kind of started problems, they really haven't been that secretive. Let's just be honest with each other. Shigaraki's group has not really been secretive at all when it comes to doing villain activities. But when you look at Overhaul's group, he's the exact opposite. He's someone that's more refined, someone that does stay in the shadows and doesn't reveal his hand, and he's basically got an entire plan laid out for, his underlings can take the fall for him and he'll be scot-free with Eri, and there's just nothing they can do whatsoever. And it's just kind of amazing to me where we get to see kind of the comparisons to both villain organizations, and just how Overhaul is clearly the better villain at this time in terms of operating his entire organization, because he's able to have his organization active in the spotlight, but he won't take the fall for it because he has perfectly trained his underlings to take the fall for him, and nothing that happens with them will affect him at all because he's completely disconnected from them. It's pretty cool. And the main point I want to say is that even though this operation is going on right now, for instance, you have the heroes charging in, they're trying to, save Eri, etc., it doesn't change the fact, though, that even if they, take all of these soldiers down, all of Overhaul's organization down, it doesn't change the fact that if they don't personally see Overhaul holding Eri and doing despicable things to her, etc., then there is no proof. I mean, you could say, yes, Night Eye saw it, but there's really no concrete proof. You basically can say, oh, Night Eye's quirk, he's able to do this, etc., but there's really no proof to really say what he saw. Like, there's really no proof to that. So because of that entire aspect, they can't just go on the word of Night Eye, regardless of how well known he is, and if he has worked with All Might, etc., they do need concrete proof. And so if they cannot find Overhaul at all within that operation, this organization that they're at right now, and they can't find Eri as well, then their entire operation's a bust, to where Overhaul's not going to get captured, Eri's going to, continue to be in Overhaul's grasp, and there's nothing that's going to be done. Basically, the only way to free Eri and, from Overhaul at that point is to go around the law and do things that would actually break the law as a vigilante. And it makes you wonder if the series is going to go down that path if they technically lose Eri, if they don't get to capture her back from Overhaul. But stopping there for a second, let's talk about the overall build-up towards the ending sequence of this episode. It's clear as day that Izuku and all the others that have been burdened with this operation are under immense stress. Ochako, Tsuyu, Togata, Izuku, we have a lot of individuals that are just immensely stressed because this is an actual life on the line. Eri is a little girl that has been captured, and her body is potentially being used to create these Quark erasing bullets, which is just absolutely disgusting. And the longer they wait, the more time it takes, the more suffering that this little girl is going to have. And they realize that this entire operation relies on the fact that they get to capture Overhaul and get proof that he is a villain. If they don't get that, there's just nothing they can do. So there is so much stress on top of them, but Izuku has more than the others, and the reason why is because it's not just this operation that's on his shoulders with Eri and what's going on with Overhaul, etc., but it's also the weight of All Might and Night Eye. There is a lot going on behind the scenes that Izuku is having to keep in for himself. He's having to carry the burden by himself, and he is just weighed down by immense stress. And you can even see that the emotions and stuff he's been trying to hold back kind of leaked out within this episode. He wasn't able to talk to Ida or even Todoroki, but he did have his emotions slightly come out just because of how much burden he has on his shoulders. It's kind of scary, honestly, and it's really sad to see Izuku in that state, because at one point, he's just worrying about All Might because he realizes All Might has less than like a year to live, and he knows that he needs to do something about it, and he needs to talk to Night Eye about it to figure out what's going on with All Might to see if the future's been changed. But also you have the entire situation with Eri, and so he has so much going on right now that he can't really even focus at all. And it's a good thing that Ida is such a bro to really kind of just snap him out of it and allow him to get his mind back in order, which is kind of the big point I want to talk about. Ida as a character has went through so much growth. However, when you really think about Ida as a character, he hasn't really been in the spotlight for a while. Like, the last time he was really in the spotlight was back in, the Stains arc and a little bit with, All for One versus All Might in last season. But overall, there hasn't been a lot of focus on Ida in a very long time. However, even though there hasn't been a lot of focus to his character, there still has been a lot going on behind the scenes, and we get to clearly see the growth that Ida has made since his anger that he had towards Stain trying to take him down and go around the law, etc. You can see that he's kind of chilled out, and what he says to Izuku within this episode is something that really goes to show that he's learned his lesson from the past, and he's trying to remind Izuku to not do the same mistakes he has. And basically he's like, look man, I know there's something going on. If you want to talk, etc., you can rely on me. I'm your friend, right? You helped me out in the past. You got me out of a dark spot. I can do the same for you. I can listen to you. Don't be like me that bottles it all up inside and doesn't relay how I feel to others, basically. And even though Izuku isn't necessarily allowed to say anything to Ida or Todoroki, he at the very least showed emotion, which showed he was under tremendous weight. He cracked a little bit, which allowed him to kind of get his feelings of gloom out, and it kind of like he opened up slightly to everybody. And Ida being there for him and Todoroki being there for him is just truly beautiful. And honestly, it's just nice to see that Ida has learned such a hard lesson from the past, and he continues to be there now for our MC Izuku and help him out in time of need. It's beautiful. Now, I do want to also mention the fact that there is a lot of great scenes within this episode, the gradual build up to the final sequence. For instance, the entire scene where you get the call in the middle of the night, where everybody has a notice that it's go time. It's the day to initiate the operation. You see everybody wake up very early, they meet each other, etc., and everybody is ready to get the job done, because it's going to be a very big day. And when you really think about it, this is the first time we've actually seen our characters in the story of My Hero Academia actually go on a true official hero duty, like business, mission, etc., whatever word you want to attach to it. This is the first time we've ever seen them having to do real hero work. Yes, they have went up against villains in the past. For instance, they went up against the League of Villains when they attacked them, etc., but this is the first time that Izuku and his entire group has initiated. They're really a part of a hero operation to save a little girl. This is the first time, which really makes this a big moment for the story, just to see, where it could go after this, because this is going to see what we can see in the future. Like, once this operation is said and done, we can expect more of this and maybe even better going forward from the story, because, we're getting a glimpse at what Izuku is going to be doing when he truly becomes an official hero with, his title and everything. But one of the little moments I do want to talk about, though, is the scene with Togata and getting just to see, all the big three meet up, and you see the cuteness, You get to see the cuteness of the hair wrapped around one of them. Like, oh, it's just straight up adorable. There's a lot of good moments within this episode, and there's some wholesome moments as well. But once that is said and done, though, we move over into Night Eye giving information. Everybody, new information came out. Basically, there was an individual, as we know, that was tasked to watch over Eri, make her happy, etc., and he's fearing for his life. So he is trying to buy her some form of, like, figurine, action figure, etc. He's trying to get her something. And so he goes to a store, but he makes a major slip-up, and Night Eye makes his move, and he manages to see whatever's going on in the future for him, which leads them into the hideout. It's very convenient, but it does make sense when you think about it. It was another major slip-up with Eri, and thankfully Night Eye was at the right place at the right time to be able to get this done. But with the information that was conveyed, basically, it gave them the go-ahead to be able to initiate the raid against Overhaul's organization and start the entire operation. So, yeah, I think that this episode did a really good job just with the overall tension and build-up for the final part of the episode. It's got me honestly excited because Sun Eater is going to have a really major point or plot point coming up here, and I'm super excited because if you saw the preview for the next week's episode, it's got me extremely excited to see what's going to happen next, especially in anime form. And on top of that as well, I'm so excited to finally see this arc really commence now, because it's been a lot of build up, honestly. When you really think about My Hero Academia Season 4, it's been built up for this very moment, and it's finally beginning. So yeah, it's a good episode. It's a fantastic episode of My Hero Academia. Can't wait to see what's going to happen next week. Tell me your thoughts, how you felt about everything that happened. How do you feel about, you know, Izuku's stress that he felt? How do you feel about Ida being there to help him out, being like best bro? How do you feel about the preview for next week's episode and how Night Eye figured out information, etc.? Like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm very curious. And with that, guys, I love you so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe, stay healthy. And if you enjoy my content, you know, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.